Hi muckers, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all having the best day ever. Thank you so much for clicking on my YouTube channel and on my video today. I really appreciate your time and I appreciate you being here. Okay, so Shane Dawson has went on Steve-O's podcast, which is a sentence I never thought I would say, and a lot of you have been sending it to me on my Discord and Facebook group that we have, which if you're not a part of them, you can join them with the link down below. It's a really fun part of the community, just like, you keep me updated on what's happening, and yeah, that was what you did here. You let me know that Shane was on Steve-O's podcast. Now, the podcast itself is, like, long, and I think I'm gonna go and watch the entire thing on Twitch, probably tomorrow, I think tomorrow, but there was this section that I saw of it that was really interesting that I thought I wanted to, like, immediately watch tonight. It's called, from, like, the clip channel, Shane Dawson breaks his silence after being cancelled. So, we're still on that, so... Alright. You muckers need anything? Some water? A condom? Some lube? I have roleplayed today, call me Trisha Paytas, as the mom from Mean Girls in my juicy little tracksuit because I'm so excited to let you know that Adam and Eve have came back to my channel yet again for another month, so if you got that reference, I love you forever. But basically, I'm so glad that Adam and Eve came back, and this is 100% on all of you for supporting, so thank you so much. Again, the deal really does sell itself, but I will tell you what it is. If you go on adamandeve.com, and whenever you check out, you can use code ADAM50 and you will get 50% off, like slashed off, one item and free shipping in the US and Canada. Now, if you're an international babe, like myself, there's also shipping as well. Do not worry about it. And there's also tracked shipping. There's everything so you can know where your stuff is. If you live with people or you just want your privacy, whenever the things come, they are packaged so you know very well that like only you will know what's inside it. Go treat yourself. Also, this company are adding new products all the time. They have so many different things for people who are in relationships. They have different board games which are really, really, really fun. You know that I love the Deep Throat Spray, but the board game is one of my favorites now. So they have things for people who are in relationships, people who are in situationships, people who are, you know, seeing an ex, people who are by themselves, who are single, who are happily single, who just, you know, want a little pick-me-up, anything. Adam and Eve got you, and they also have so many just, like self-care things, like I always talk about, which I absolutely love. Just so diverse, the amount of things on there. They are 50 years in the game, so you know that they're good. And you've heard me talk about them now for almost 3 years. That's how much, like, this deal has really sold itself, and also... I have said this, it's the biggest support of me and my channel and keeping me going on YouTube whenever you use this code. So basically, 90-day no hassle return. So if you have any problems with your things or you aren't completely satisfied, which trust me you will, anyway, you have that 90-day window, 24/7 customer service. A bunch of their proceeds goes to helping fighting the spread of HIV all around the world, so I'm very proud to stand behind this company as well. And yeah, more so above everything else, the products are just really good. So, if you do want to go over and take a little look for yourself, you will see what I'm talking about. Make sure to use that code ADAM50. You will get that discount of 50%, literally half off one item and free shipping in the US and Canada, shipping everywhere else as well. Muckers, thank you so much for using and supporting this deal. Adam and Eve, thank you so much for coming back to my channel. I just really appreciate it, and yeah, go over and have a look. adamandeve.com, code ADAM50. Alright, bye. And the top comment is the reason that I really wanted to watch this. It says, Shane got cancelled for being a creep with children. It's as simple as that. So basically, I wonder what the context of the video is going to be because the top comment, which is the most engaged to comment, is not on Shane's side. Which normally, if you're going on a podcast and you're like explaining your side, the comments will normally be on your side, but they aren't, which is why I want to immediately jump into this and we'll watch the entire thing on my Twitch tomorrow. Simple as that. There's hours of footage that he's deleted because it showed how truly creepy he is. There was a thread made that had hundreds of examples of Shane being inappropriate, talking about how P-wording is just another kink, and says that he googled babies in a certain context. Weird interactions at his meet and greets. I understand people make jokes, but he was basically making the same joke repeatedly for years. I was a huge Shane Dawson fan, but looking back, I had no real grasp of his videos. Crazy how blind I was to it. So, if that has any take on what this video is gonna, we're just gonna get into it. Alright, are you ready? Because I don't think I am. Oh, Shane uploaded a new video called I'm Over It. It's probably another video going to another fast food place and being like, I have a conspiracy theory! And then there's none. Anyway, let's get into it. This is on Steve-O's clip channel, Steve-O's Wild Ride. Watch this for various commentary purposes. Let's get into it.
So yeah.
The deep side. We're off to a great, great, great start.
I mean, sorry, I don't talk about this stuff really except for like therapy, so I don't know.
He talks about it all the time. No, let's not rewrite history. You talk about this shit all the time.
I'm trying to like not go into like that mode.
Oh, Jesus. My goodness.
We watched a video that kind of chronicled all of the cancellations.
So the D'Angelo Wallace video, I assume we're talking about.
Oh, God.
Are we going to show up on some sort of list having you on?
What was interesting was that, like, it was, you know, they said that in some cases people will, like, you know, build careers, become famous, and then do something, like, super offensive to people. But in this case,
how awkward is this already?
He, that is not what happened. That like Shane Dawson was super offensive the whole time. Was actually like what he became famous for, kind of. So then it's like,
I don't think I've ever heard someone address it like this. Let me move my camera down a little bit because it's like really high up. I feel like this is the first time I've ever heard someone address it to Shane like this, where like, oh no, you built your career off of that. So I mean, we're off to an interesting start already.
It's an interesting dynamic where, you know, you were just a wild, outrageously offensive guy and everything was great until people just got upset about it after the fact.
Yeah.
Just get to the point.
Sorry. Yeah, no, it was...
I think to laugh about that is so interesting. I understand nervous laughter and stuff like that, but I feel like every time Shane is like asked about his cancellation or anything to do with his problematic videos, he always addresses it initially in like a, ooh, let's get into it kind of way, and it just comes across really bizarre.
It was a lot. I mean, listen, like, I'm not one of those people that's mad that I got canceled. I mean, maybe in the beginning I was, you know, yeah, because those videos were from a long time ago, and a lot of the stuff was from a long time ago, and I hadn't done anything like that in years, but, I mean, I'm also kind of glad it all happened, because...
I think the fact of the matter wasn't that the videos were so long ago. The fact of the matter was how many of the same sort of things you were doing existed. And I think that cancelled out it being done a year ago or something like that, you know what I mean?
It made me face a lot of things and realize, yeah, a lot of things.
Right.
Like the laughter,
so,
I understand nervous laughter. I'm not just trying to nitpick here, but it just comes across really like, say your point without it. Or get some media training.
What's been going on recently? You remember maybe when we got together like all those years ago, I think I called up my niece on the phone, or maybe we made a video and sent it to my niece, but my niece was just such a rabid Shane Dawson fan. And I texted her yesterday. I said, are you still like a fan of Shane Dawson? She said, yeah. Like, I said, oh, because we're going to record a podcast with him tomorrow. And she goes, WTF, oh my God, that's great. And she said, from what I gathered, he's doing very well since he got in trouble with the popular media.
Popular media.
Yeah, like her take on it seems to be the...
Can you call it the popular media, though, if a big chunk of it was his own audience turning on him?
That your cancellation, so to speak, was with like the mainstream media, and that, you know, under, you know, in kind of your world, sort of under that radar, that everything's cool.
Yeah, I mean,
again, I don't really know if you can say, like, the mainstream media or the popular media whenever it was Shane's own audience that were mass unsubscribing and mass, you know, calling him out and stuff like that, because they were the audience that had watched the videos. Sure, the media was also doing it, but it was mainly started by Shane's own audience, so... just seems like a weird way of, like, getting out of it, I guess.
I think it was, like, when I started doing YouTube, the people that were watching were, you know... I think... The types of people that were watching my...
Do we want to name what the types of people that were enjoying that kind of content were, Shane? Let's not go down that... No.
Stuff changed in like 2018, 2019, and I started doing things about makeup, and I think it opened up to... And not to make excuses, but I think I started doing YouTube videos for kind of like fucked up, weird, outcast people, and then... the more mainstream YouTube got, and the more I was doing documentaries on, like, or documentaries, people don't like me.
Fair enough, he's learning. I'm actually glad that he went back on calling it documentaries. You know what? Bravo.
I call them that, but I was doing videos about people that were more mainstream.
Okay.
So it was a lot of, like,
Yeah.
And then they were really surprised by all the old videos, obviously. So yeah, I mean, sorry, I don't talk about this stuff really except for like therapy, so I don't know.
Haven't you talked about this stuff before though? Or just not publicly?
I don't think I've talked about it like, yeah, not really. Like I'll touch on things in podcasts a little bit, but then I kind of stop because I don't want to. It's hard to talk about stuff because if you talk about it, people think you're trying to be a victim. If you say about certain things, they think you're manipulating or you're trying to change the narrative or all this shit. And so I just don't talk about anything.
I mean, the fact that you're...
But is that really a good approach then? So you're allowing yourself to be called really, really, really intense things. Like, really, really, really intense. That you're allowing people to, like, create that narrative about you then, and you're fine with not speaking up against it. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I just think that there is nothing he can really say, and that's why he doesn't say it. That's fine. You can just say that instead of people, trying to twist it. No, there's just really no way out for you.
Nervous about it is pretty authentic, I think, and like...
I think.
It's better than having, like, being prepared. Because you could tell when you start to talk about it, you stop talking about it, which means, like, there's shame around it, and, like, the neurons are just looping back to the same spot. And I think talking about it helps kind of connect you, like, neural pathways to where you're not, like, so, flight or fright with it. And it just gets easier and easier. But if you're not comfortable talking about anything, we don't have to talk about anything at all.
I think there's something to what you said, too, that...
Where'd the dog go?
When you say the fact that Shane's nervous about it, there's something authentic about that. Like, if you're...
Not the bare minimum. He's nervous about talking about his cancellation, which is a sign of authenticity. The lowest is what? The bar is in hell.
If you're really comfortable, like, oh yeah, let's talk about, like that, I have no problem there, then it feels like, there's no gravity to it, and, like...
Yeah, there's certainly trauma around it, because, like, I can, when you're breathing out like that, like, I'll do that in therapy, and, like, my therapist is like, dude...
I do that whenever I walk up the fucking stairs. I do when I walk up the stairs.
Your brain doesn't know the difference between, like, you running your because, like, when that kind of stuff happens, like, you're operating off your reptilian brain. And so it's like your body doesn't know the difference whether you're running from a dinosaur or, like, somebody's just asking you a question because, like...
Where are we going? Where are we going with this? Now we're reptiles? What? Just focus on the conversation at hand.
It hasn't been processed. So... I mean, I think it's good to talk about it, and...
Are we going to allow him to talk about it?
Right.
And nobody's going to find out anything. You haven't lied about anything. So, like, saying shit, I think is okay. But I think the fact that you are nervous about it is a good thing, because it's authentic.
Oh, thank you. I mean, that, exactly what you said... Sorry, I've, like, caught mouth. Exactly what you said is what my therapist said, too, which is, like... Yeah, I got into a place where I was in fight or flight mode 24 hours a day. Where, like, I mean, not as much anymore. I don't want to seem like I'm, like, fucking... like,
well, you're showing up to do a podcast.
Right.
Like, that's not yours. That's good.
But, like, the last 2 years after I got canceled, and I was like, I'm done. Not making any videos ever again. I'm done. I went through, not to get... to whatever, but it was really bad. And then we moved to Colorado. That's where my husband's family is, and I'm really close to them, and I just wanted to get away for a bit. And also we found this house out there that was unexpected, so we moved out there, and I had the best year of my whole life. Like, 2020 was really bad, and 2021 was like, I wasn't on my phone, I wasn't on the internet, and it was the best year ever. And then around the end of 2021, I started thinking, like, I do want to make stuff again, and like you said, it's like, I'm obviously ashamed of a lot of the old videos and the old sketches and stuff, but like you said, it's not like a secret thing. I didn't hurt anyone. I mean, I guess I hurt feelings, but I didn't physically hurt anyone. I didn't rape anyone. I didn't do anything to where I should be in hiding. It took me a long time to get to that place, to believe that, but that I should be.
the argument of I didn't do anything bad to an individual person is so fascinating. It's so fascinating and definitely a conversation starter, because I think whenever you spent years upon years normalizing behavior to do with, you know, things to do with children, things to do with racism, things, just all these different things, right? You then have built an audience on, like, almost like grooming this idea that, like, that is, like, normal. Like, it's normal to make these jokes about children. It's normal to be this racist. It's normal to whatever. And I think, like, the normalization of, like, at meet and greets, you know, basically, like, sharing, like, gum with, like, your underage fans, or kissing your underage fans, or something like that. For you to, like, take the way out of, I didn't hurt, like, a single person, is so interesting, because there were so many ramifications of things that you did. And for you to say that I don't need to go into hiding because I haven't done anything wrong necessarily, then why did you go into hiding for an entire year? If you believe that. That's just my take on it.
Be in hiding or something, but
when we were coming out here and you're like, okay, I'm doing a podcast, where were you like, oh fuck, I don't want them to ask me this?
oh, I mean,
Or what was the shame or fear there about doing a podcast? Like, because I know there's maybe something specific that you thought about that you didn't want to go near.
I mean, it sounds whatever, but my biggest fear, and why I say no to a lot of stuff like this, not that I'm getting asked a lot, but I say no a lot because I know the reaction is going to be possibly negative for you guys. So for me, I'm like, okay, I love you. I'm so grateful that you came on my show all those years ago. Like, that was fucking insane. Like, I still have people asking me about that. My brother's obsessed with you. So I wanted to say yes, but I know you're going to get shit and you're going to get comments. People are going to be like, can't believe you had him on and all this stuff. And then I'm not going to read it, but I don't want that to, like, fuck up your shit, and I don't want you to regret it. And yeah, so it's like a lot of, like, feeling like, kind of the way I put it is, I feel like I'm cancer in a way, where I'm like this thing where if people are around me now, people, they can get canceled, and that's probably ended. That was more probably a couple years ago, but it does feel like that, you know, like, oh, I'm this fucked up thing, and if you're near me, everybody's mad at you now, so I just kind of seclude.
And I think a main reason for that, though, is because people felt like they never got an explanation for most of the things that Shane was being accused of or came to light. And I mean, him addressing a couple minutes ago that he didn't, you know, he was angry at being cancelled, but then you look at the timeline and that's when he made the apology video saying he's so sorry. So he also said in that apology video that he's only ever made apology videos whenever he's been scared and, you know, just as like a trigger response. So you're basically saying that, like, your video in which you really didn't address anything at all, you know, was just made out of that same thing you said your other ones were made out of. So people are always going to have this perception of Shane because they never have one point they can go back to an apology video or a statement and be like, oh, that was genuine. Okay, if you don't like him, he's already addressed it and he can't do any more than that. But people cannot say that about Shane, which is why there's this knock-on effect every time he, you know, promotionally does something with someone. It's a pretty, it's not that hard to comprehend.
Well, that's thoughtful, and you know, we appreciate that.
I mean, does Steve-O really have the best reputation, though?
Vibe is
really.
It is what it is, you know.
I don't know about that.
I think the idea of there being negative comments. There's going to be negative comments no matter what you do. And I'm personally kind of interested in just the story of, you know, what happens after all that.
Right.
You know? Like, I think that a lot of people in the world would take the position that cancel culture went too far. And that it's, you know, enough.
But how has cancel culture gone, like, how are you going to say cancel culture went so far and use people like Shane Dawson or Ellen DeGeneres, these are normally the names, whenever promotionally, or professionally, sorry, because cancel culture can only work professionally, how are you going to say that cancel culture went too far whenever, you know, Ellen chose to leave her show, and Ellen gets so many sponsorships daily still, and Shane Dawson is, you know, posting regularly on his YouTube channel with, you know, so many views and, you know, has his career. cancel culture is a professional thing, so you can't say cancel culture went too far when actually you look at it and it did nothing. Right? Another point.
I think that having really taken the brunt of it and, showing up to speak up for yourself after the fact, that there's some courage in that. And anybody who wants to, kick you while you're down and pile on to a bunch of traumatic stuff, like,
traumatic stuff, though, but these videos coming out from Shane, I don't know how that's traumatic, for him, that other people are now just resurfacing things that he's done.
Maybe what we're doing here is an exercise in shining a light on that and showing it to be unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for, sorry, I promise I'm not like this all the time.
No, it's okay. I mean, it's just honestly, it's better that you're not like,
right,
zany and fucking.
I know.
Hi,
hey guys.
Like, I mean, this is like
right.
You're gonna hate me for doing this, but I'm gonna go deep.
Okay.
You brought up the fact that like you didn't want to come on people's podcasts because you felt like a cancer. But did you always feel like a cancer? Like, was that's not the first time that you felt coming on? Because the reason I say that is because your whole idea of like making videos would be for shock value,
right?
And I would think that like to have that kind of a thought system, you kind of had like a lot of resentment in you before you started making videos, and you found out like that you can make videos, and then you became shocking, and maybe in your head you were like fuck it, like fuck everybody, I feel like a cancer anyway in life, so like I'm just gonna go. Like, you felt justified by going that hard. Is that some level of accuracy to it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds weird, but I am not, like, as a human, as a person, I'm not like a gross person. I'm not like a shocking person in my real life. I'm not making crazy gross jokes. I've never been that. I've always been really quiet.
Which is fine. And I do believe him. I do believe him when he says that. But the problem is, when you create such a version of yourself online, that's all people know of you, so that's all they can think of you. So it is said person's fault, that people have that opinion. You can't push that on the audience, because that's all you've ever shown them. By doing vlogs, inviting them in your life, and you're making those jokes in the vlogs and in the life.
So, with the videos, I mean, I grew up watching, Scary Movie and, Chappelle and all those things. So that was kind of how what I liked formed. And I love playing characters and wearing wigs and doing all these things. And I do love getting a reaction. Like, I would make these videos and I would show my mom, who's like really religious Christian. And my favorite part of making the videos would be watching my mom's reactions, because it was so like, I love when people scream because they're laughing, or they scream because they're shocked. It's just like, oh.
But wasn't your mom also in the videos doing that content? Wasn't she also in those, like, Omegle rooms with you, asking, children to twerk and stuff like that? Like,
oh my God. And so I was doing that, and I did it in high school. Like, I would do these video projects in high school, and the teachers would freak out because they were like, I can't believe he did this. Like, what the fuck? And that was kind of, the beginning of that. So yeah, but it was weird because then when I'm not in these videos, I'm not that bad at all. People were really liking the videos, and I was, being asked to go to YouTube things, and I had YouTube friends, and but there were a few people that were mad and were calling it out, and I was, being like, no, well, people think it's funny, and I'm not trying to be offensive, so it's fine, which is stupid. I should have listened to those people, but yeah, it wasn't, like, I never wanted to be that, right? Like, I never wanted to be the person that's making all this horrible shit. Like, that was not what I wanted to do.
I find
I don't know where that got mixed in translation then.
I'm feeling a great deal of compassion for you. And,
thank you.
Like, I see, like, I can...
You're honest. You're vulnerable.
I can feel, like, the trauma of, like, everything that's happened cancel culture, and I kind of like.
My favorite thing is Shane a couple minutes ago being like, no, like I don't like coming on podcasts because I don't like people thinking I'm making myself the victim, just for the other guys to make him the victim.
I can just maybe it's like empathy, but I can feel
Empath!
your
Shane knows it well.
It makes me it cultivates compassion. I want everything.
You're an empath. Shane, call him an empath. Call him an
Thank you.
empath. Bring out Katie
nice
Morton.
thing ever. I mean, sorry that I'm making you feel bad.
No. I mean, it's not like.
Yeah, like that's.
Yeah, you're gonna make me feel bad, but it's like. I don't know. Like Scott said, I hear you like the fact of you being nervous.
Oh my God! When are we gonna move on past that point?
Indicators of like picking your fingers, like you're.
I was doing that a couple minutes ago. I'm not nervous right now. Did you see that? You can fast forward like 5 minutes. I'm always playing with my fingers whenever I'm listening to something or talking or whatever like that. I'm not nervous right now. Am I? No, like what? All right. This is like what I always find interesting about podcasts. Whenever the like podcasters want their guests to like feel a certain way, they like push it on them and they're like, "You're doing this. It's okay to feel like that. It's okay to feel like that." Then they sympathize with them. Then the person opens up to get like an emotional conversation. So podcasts work.
You're uncomfortable talking about this shit. Clearly, you're blowing out. You're like.
Yeah, but to Scott's point,
but that's real. That's vulnerable.
Yeah, to Scott's point, there's like.
It's okay if you pick your feet.
I know. No, I'm like, oh fuck.
No, I always notice things like that with people because I'm the same way too.
I remember at one of our sober functions talking to a sober guy, and just expressing to him that like I felt really just ashamed of what I had become, like what I turned into with drugs and alcohol, and
yeah.
I was.
Oh my God, I'm doing it again.
Like,
see,
it's probably not good to be so like shameful about it. And this guy said, "No, dude, like regret is absolutely healthy and important and the way forward." So, but there's certainly no judgment here.
Thank you. I mean, no, I appreciate it, and I want to get better at like talking about stuff. I think, and I've tried to do it on my podcast, but then I always just shut down because I don't know. I don't want to. It's just really complicated. It's hard to talk about cancel culture, when like I'm not delusional. I know why I got canceled. I understand it. I get it. I feel sorry about it. But yeah, it was a lot, and I don't think any person should be put through that, because if I didn't have Ryland, I'd be dead. Like, so I want to at some point talk about it more, because I feel I got to talk about it in therapy a lot. I'm like, I want to do something for people, because cancel culture isn't just on YouTube. It's everywhere. It's in people. Like, I've had people that I know who have lost jobs because of a patient who said something that wasn't true, and then this and that. It's like it's happening everywhere. And
I mean, to compare someone losing their job because someone made up a lie about them to like people not wanting you to upload on YouTube anymore because you used the platform, you abused the platform for so many years, I think is a little bit different. Maybe I'm just nitpicking, but
so many people feel like this. So it's like, yeah, at some point I do want to get better at talking about it, because I am grateful that I am okay after all of that. But it's hard to talk about that because then people are like, oh, you're trying to fucking feel bad about or be a victim and this and that. So then
I don't know how you can say that whenever the two guys in this podcast have been doing that the entire time.
just say, well, fuck it, I'm just not gonna talk.
Yeah, I think the worst thing that you can do though is just to like make a joke. Make a joke about it, or at least because then that's just it's a deflection for sure. Mm-hmm. And I think the more that you're honest and vulnerable about it, it always reminds me of this. The word personality comes from the root word persona,
Right, this will be my last, like, nitpicky point, but, like, when they're like, oh, it's nice to see you be open and vulnerable about it, but people said that defending Shane whenever he made that video in 2020 before he took the year off, but now in this, he's, like, saying about how during that time he was actually angry that he got cancelled, so how can that be genuine? So, like, how can this be, you know what I mean? There's just so much that just contradicts itself. I'm not trying to be nitpicky, I'm not trying to be rude, I'm just trying to give, like, a different perspective here, that's how it comes across as someone who followed this all very, very, very closely.
Which means to wear a mask. And I always, like, the people that have the best personalities in the world just makes me think of, like, that they're covering up the most, you know? So if somebody's like, hey, what's, like, they're just too on and they're too charismatic, it's like, that person's really hurt inside.
Right.
So you don't, I think, want to make a joke about anything you've ever done because it's not funny. And everybody knows it's not funny. So just be real about it. Just like...
We're like 17 minutes into this 19-minute thing where they're like, you know, the jokes you made weren't funny, but, like, you just have to live with it. It's the first time that's being properly acknowledged here.
Fuck, dude. You were pretty honest and vulnerable with us, and that's a lot easier than being like, okay, so anyway.
That is so fucking true because at the beginning, when I started trying to get back into making stuff again, I was really making a lot of jokes about suicide. Like, too much. Borderline, like, why was I doing that? And in the moment, I try not to do this, but I watched like a video of somebody reacting to the video because it was my first one back in, you know, since I had been canceled. And one of the suicide jokes came up and the person was just like, And I was like, oh, I just felt so embarrassed. I felt so stupid. Yeah. I was just like, oh, it's like, it put me back in high school when I would be the first one to make the fat joke. So that like people wouldn't, you know, I'm like in on the joke, hee hee.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's a valid point.
Like, whatever. So it put me in that same space where I'm like, oh. So now that's my new thing. I'm trying not to make jokes about how I look, and I'm trying not to make suicide jokes. And
growth in any way, I guess.
Real. And I do use humor, but yeah, there is a certain point where it makes people feel like, ooh, this is dark.
Yeah, sure.
It's like, yeah.
But everybody does it, so don't beat yourself up for it. I mean, fuck, dude. You know, I probably made 20 mistakes like that today. But it's like, I think being aware of it really makes a difference to where, like, if you do it, don't beat yourself up. Just like, fuck.
Right.
I did it, and you move on.
Right.
Instead of...
All right. We will leave it there. I mean, the comments on this are really interesting. Yeah. I mean, there's really not that... I mean, the comments are not really that... I'm not even going to read them out. No. Who is he and why did he get cancelled? More importantly, what is that hairstyle? Alright, I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to read out those comments because a lot of them are pretty harsh. And I think I kept this video pretty fair. Let me know your opinion. We'll talk about it down below. I appreciate you being here. And yeah, I'll see you in my next one. Okay, bye.